What's up? I'm Ross. I talk about personal finance and economics from a single guy's perspective. I'm going to answer another question from Reddit today from a single guy who wants to help on his 401k. Let's get into it. 401k help for a single 25-year-old with a steady income and savings. And 25-year-old single male living in PA, Pennsylvania. I've been working in the same spot for about 4 years and never did 401k. Foolish, I know. Currently have about 5,000 in Roth IRA through Acorns. Not sure if relevant, but I don't know. Make about 2.5 thousand net a month at this job, maybe 1.5K a month through other avenues in addition. I want to defer 8% of my check. Employer will match 5%. So what I'm asking is, what do I do here? I have a pick of where 401ks will be allocated from the list provided through a company called Newport Retirement Services. I have no clue. And the list provided is right here as such. I'd like to say I'm willing to go with a decently aggressive approach, but I ultimately don't know what the options provided here are, so I'm open to all avenues. And also then there's an edit. He says, I am also not opposed to simply not doing a 401k with this job if there are significantly better options available for somebody in my position. I will not be at this job for the rest of my life, probably not even the next 10 years. But I figured with their match, this would be the best option for now. Please let me know what you think. So first, let me commend this young man for being 25 and being, fairly ahead of the game as far as even to start investing. So he says he was not investing in his 401k thus far, but he's getting it in now, and he's also got $5,000 in a Roth IRA. So he's doing pretty good. He doesn't talk about his debt in here or anything else, but just from those two items, he's doing pretty good for himself to be 25, and he's got a steady job as well. So sounds like he's making $4,000 a month. It doesn't say if that's post-tax or pre-tax. So, what are we talking about? Almost 50K a year. So pretty good for a young man. And I'll go backwards with this kind of a little bit. So in answer to his edit part, is this the best option for you? Yes, this is absolutely the best option for you. If what you say is correct, your employer matches up to 5% if you put in 8%. So if he puts in 8% of his check, his employer gives him 5%. That's like free money. So by my calculations, that's a 62.5% return before you ever even invested anything. So yes, you're not going to find 62.5% return anywhere. So and again, that's before he's even got anything out of the market. So yes, this is the best option for you. I would also point out that, just because he said he's going to leave this job within the next 10 years, you want to make sure that you keep meticulous records and keep track of your 401k. And when you do leave, roll it over into an account that you control, whether that be Fidelity, Vanguard, or there's many brokerages houses out there that you could use. But you just want to make sure that when you leave that employer, you roll that 401k into an account that because you'd be surprised. Companies get bought out, sold, and you'd be surprised how many people lose track of 401ks, and it's not always so straightforward to find money that you've lost track of. So once you leave that situation, make sure you put your money somewhere, and you can keep the tax advantages, by the way. So you don't have to cash out. You can keep the tax advantages. It's called a rollover, but just make sure that you check with the brokerage house and you take that money with you when you go. So now, in terms of which one of these I would suggest. So after looking over the list, I got to be honest, I didn't look into a whole bunch of them because I saw a Vanguard Institutional Index, and that's what I would go with. That is a fund, an index fund that follows the S&P 500. So you're going to get the largest 500, companies in America. If we go over here to their website, Vanguard Institutional Index. The expense ratio is another reason. It's 0.04%. So that means for every $10,000 invested, you would end up paying $4 for every $10,000 invested. So if we go down here to product summary, we can see here seeks to track the performance of the Standard & Poor's 500 index, which measures the investment return of the large capitalization stocks. Follows a passively managed full replication approach. Provides a convenient way to match the performance of substantial portion of the nation's largest stocks. So that's definitely what I would go with on this list, and possibly if he wanted to maybe look at the Vanguard Mid Caps Index or the Vanguard Small Cap and do those each at combined less than 20%, because the S&P 500, as far as the total index market in America, as far as the total stock market in America, the S&P 500 makes up about 80% of the market capitalization. So if you wanted to do maybe replicate the entire market, you take less than 20% and split it between mid cap or small cap, or maybe do a little bit more for mid cap and a little bit less for small cap. But at any rate, it would be less than 20%. That's if you want to get fancy. I think you'd be fine with just sticking with the Vanguard Institutional Index and keeping it simple, but that would be up to you. Again, the rest of these I'm not familiar with. I'm sure their fees are probably higher. The T. Rowe Price, JP Morgan, American Century. I'd stick with Vanguard. And these American funds, the target dates, again, I don't know what's in those funds, but typically, I can say those funds are probably going to hold some bonds. And again, this is not financial advice. What I would do for a 25-year-old man, you've got at least probably 35, 40 years before you're even looking at retirement. So I would say there's no need to hold bonds in your account right now. Right now, you've got time on your side, and you've got the ability to absorb any risk. So risk is your friend at this age because you're so young. You can absorb the risk. You're not getting at that money anytime. So I would say, you need to have your fund in as aggressive a makeup as possible. So just check back in, make sure I answered all of his questions. And like I say, for a 25-year-old young man, he's doing a great job. He's got the 5,000 in Roth IRAs, Acorn. He's going to start doing the 401k. This is great. I would say, and I gotta point it out, I don't know about the rest of his finances. So hopefully it sounds like he probably does. But if you don't have an emergency fund, a good 3 to 6 months of cash on hand for emergencies would be a good thing to have. Seeing as how you're a single guy, you don't mention kids, you probably could lean closer to the 3 months. But yeah, if you don't have that on hand, you need to get that in hand. If there's anybody that's dependent on you for money, you might want to look into some term life. But if it's just you, again, he doesn't mention kids or anybody dependent upon him, so there may not be any need for term life insurance at this point in your life. But you're doing a very good job, young man. Congratulations. So my name is Chad Ross. I talk about personal finance and economic news from a single man's perspective. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider giving me a like, a subscribe. It wouldn't cost you anything, but it would help me out immensely. Peace.